Hey everybody, it's Mike Young, lifestyle nutritionist with aPlantBasedDiet.org. Welcome to chapter 77 of my book. 77, just making sure. It is on mental health. And this is going to be a really sobering chapter, not to say that you were drunk on the other ones, because if you've been paying attention, I actually haven't even gotten alcohol yet. That's coming up here pretty soon, so get ready. You're going to have a couple of difficult chapters here coming up, including this one. Well, mental health. What is it? Mental illness. What is it? Can anything be done about it? Well, if you listen to the healthcare, the sick care system, most psychologists, almost all psychiatrists, because they're the ones who prescribe the medications for mental illness, mental conditions, you're going to hear the general idea that there's not really anything anybody can do. That's how you are. It's how you're born. That's you. That's your genetic makeup. Maybe you inherited something, you know, genetically in your family, in your biologic history, whatever it might be. But I'm here to challenge that. I do believe that there are some things that you can't control. I mean, I think that if you see somebody from a young age or something that obviously, I don't know, has some kind of severe brain trauma or just just isn't right, you just know they're never going to be able to do anything. They've there's different things that different conditions that I'd say fall into the 20%. I'm not gonna take a deep dive into those, because there's always exceptions to the rule. But I'm talking about the rule, the 80%. We talk a lot about the 80-20 rule here in the book, and it definitely applies here. And I know it's kind of different because I'm doing a chapter here on mental illness, and I'm telling you that 80% of mental illnesses, mental issues, are reversible, haltable, or preventable, just like most of the things here. And of course, it's mainly by the food, which is 80% of that. So why am I saying this? What do I mean? Well, first of all, if you've ever been a patient in the medical system, the sick care system, you know that it's basically based on storytelling, I would say, because the patient comes in. Yes, there are a few tests, but most of the medical or DSM diagnoses, mental conditions, they do not have a test that will verify or refute if you have that condition. It's based on observation, a lot of different inputs from the medical professional given to them by the patient. There's not a lot of firsthand information, okay? Now, right away, that should be a red flag. This has been a red flag for me for decades. Even before the time that we're living in now, and everybody has a sensor or a sensor suite, cameras watching them, Alexa listening. She's probably hearing right now. I gotta unplug her, by the way. All kinds of monitoring going on, but it's funny that you're in this black hole. Remember how not too long ago you were in a black hole or just a area of no contact, no communications when you're on airplanes? If you tried to, continue your internet work, you couldn't do it. It was this kind of a nothing happens zone, DMZ, whatever. Well, unfortunately, my opinion is that we're still in that when it comes to the medical system, the healthcare system, the sick care system, in terms of mental health and the way people are evaluated and the way people are treated, because it's really done, like I said, with no firsthand information. And a lot of times people who are in the lives of those who are being treated are kept in the dark because of medical privacy. The patient doesn't even have to tell these people what's going on, and these other folks don't need to be involved, which is kind of crazy if you think about it, especially now. But although now patients can be monitored 24/7, with cameras and video and audio. In the past, the only way to really know what was going on was ask somebody else, and that still wasn't happening. So there's been a period of time now where medical privacy has taken over, and they were already having trouble making correct diagnoses, in my opinion, because of the methods used, not firsthand information. And then we go into this time frame where there's medical privacy, strict medical privacy laws, and we've got all these sensors, but we can't use any of it. It's almost like a negative feedback loop and a scam. Okay, I've called this a scam for years, because when I say a scam, I mean it can be used right, like a lot of things. It can also be used wrong, and it can be abused by the patients, if you ask me, because of the way the system's set up. So first off, let me just get this out of the way, and then we'll move on to the rest of what I was going to talk about in this chapter. But you can see, I think you're getting the picture. Let me know in the comments below if you agree or disagree with this. But I think that anybody going under treatment for DSM condition needs to be monitored. I mean, I've got this thing on my arm now. My other one's actually charging right now, so it's not on my arm. We got all these devices that we didn't used to have, cameras everywhere. Every Tesla has got cameras on it and is watching you. Even if you think you're unplugged, you're not unplugged. You are in the matrix. I can't believe there's this area where you can get treated and given pharmaceuticals and no one has any firsthand information. It's crazy to me. When I say firsthand information, I mean, how does that patient behave with other people and interact with people outside the medical office? Because I know the doctor has firsthand information about talking to that person, but that person could be spouting out lies the entire time they're there, half-truths, things that they think is a certain way, but that's just their way of seeing it. It's not what's really going on. Does that make sense? I hope it does, because like I said, I'm 52 years young right now. I've known people for years who have had these conditions, and it's not been good at all. And I'd say especially people who have been diagnosed with any form of depression, I tend to find this. I want to jump real quick before I get out of this, how it's treated in the medical area right now. But I tend to find that people who are being treated for depression typically are taking depressants, aka alcohol. That's why we're gonna have a chapter coming up pretty soon. I know I've pushed these things off since the beginning of the book because they're complicated. You got to kind of get what I said earlier in the book. You got to be on board with a lot of what I said to kind of be in the right frame of mind to hear me out here. Otherwise, you may just be totally dismissive, and I don't think you should be. I think that we've got the system, whoever has designed and refined the system, it's got a lot of work to do, in my opinion. And if you have some hints on that, let me know below, some tips, ways you think the system should be modified, what needs to happen, put it all down below, please, because we'd love to hear from you, definitely. Okay, so the thing is, like I said, people who are being treated for depression, even manic depression, doesn't make any difference. If you're getting these pharmaceuticals, guess what? You're not supposed to drink alcohol. It says right on them, there's such powerful medications. They're designed to bring you back into balance. That's the whole concept, especially when you're depressed. Bring you back into balance. Anxious, bring you back into balance. Depressed is living in the past. Anxious is living in the future. Bring you back into balance so that you are living in present time. You're focusing on what's actually going on. So if the medicines are supposed to do that, why are all these patients drinking alcohol? And a lot of them are smoking too that I see, taking nicotine. It doesn't make any sense. It says that you're not supposed to drink the alcohol on the medications. Usually there's a warning right on the container, in addition to all the information that the pharmaceutical provides you with, the company, with all the side effects, which nobody reads. Nobody reads these stuff. And of course, I see people who are related to these people who just let it all go. Nothing they can do. That's what they think. And it's really bothersome because this affects everyone that person comes into contact with, and also sets an example for how others should behave. And it's very, very bad. That's why we need to, since I've seen so many people abusing the system in this regard, what we need to do is we need to fix the system. People need to really be okay with fixing the system and just go out and fix it. All right, so you've heard everything that's wrong with the mental health care system, mental sick care, whatever it is. Same thing. They're just managing symptoms. They're not getting at the root cause. What is the root cause of mental illness? And again, I'm talking about the 80%, not the 20% outliers. And don't think that you or somebody you know is in the 20%, because they're most likely not. That's why it's only 20%. This would have to be severe trauma, severe birth defect type of thing, chromosome abnormality. Okay, this is what I'm getting at. Like I said, I didn't want to talk about it earlier, but these are the kind of things. You can kind of see what I'm talking about here, right? So, Mike, what are you talking about? Why is this preventable, haltable, reversible mental illness? Well, as I just mentioned earlier, as the clinicians agree, and I'd say anybody who knows somebody who's got a diagnosed mental condition, there's a balance problem there. Life is balance, and hopefully you picked up on this. Everything's a balance, and outside of a few outliers, you are able to readjust that balance on your own. And guess what? 80% of this is the food, as we talked about. It's the food, right? We have two of the chapters on the food. One in the very beginning where I just mentioned I call it food because it's just telling you how big of a deal this whole food thing is. And then there's another one, chapter 42, saying the food. And actually, I'm going to have another one that's more specific coming up here later in the book. But actually, a couple more dedicated, but one that has the word food in the title. So the food is, it can't be understated. It's it. It is the reason why you are either in balance or out of balance, with a few caveats, but they're just a very few, 20% or less. So why would somebody, how, you may be thinking, if you've never thought about this, how in the world could somebody's mental state be impacted by a few different choices of things going in my mouth, food, drink, whatever, on a daily basis, 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Well, it means everything. If you got to go back and listen to chapter 42 to recognize exactly where you need to be with your food intake. If you're, because the problem is when you reread or listen to that one or watch that one, you realize that almost everybody is doing it so wrong, not even close to right. So if you are okay with that concept, if you get it, if you're like, okay, yeah, Mike, everybody is so far off, so far off. Wait a minute. And if you listen to some of the other chapters I've had earlier in the book, where I talk about the gut health connection to the brain, and of course, the gut is the main producer of serotonin, you realize that if your gut health is compromised, how in the world is your brain ever going to be able to think clearly and operate the way it's supposed to be and be in balance? And what if your brain is out of balance? Well, then all these issues happen. And what are these issues? Like if someone has a DSM diagnosis, it's not saying, oh, well, we're so sorry. There's nothing you can do about this. This is just the way you are. Everyone else around you is going to have to accept you for who you are, for the way you are, the tumor personality type of a situation. Worse than that, it's a tumor of mental illness. But there is something you can do in almost all cases. That's a thing. Because it's a warning light. It's like the check engine light on your dashboard, your instrument panel in your car. It's telling you something's really wrong. When you have a DSM diagnosis, that's what that is. If you're looking at this from a holistic perspective, which you need to do if you're ever going to do better in your life, because the pharmaceuticals that they give for these mental conditions are extremely powerful. Anyone and everyone who knows about this is going to disagree. If you do, please write that down below. Write down the names of these pharmaceuticals. Write down some of the side effects so that people can see what's going on. Please write that down in the comments. And you don't want to be on those unless you absolutely have to. The people who are on them don't even like being on them. But you know what? Can you imagine if every physician that they went to talk about their condition first made sure that the food and the lifestyle was correct before prescribing medications? Of course, I'm not talking about cases of being suicidal or something. If there's an emergency, you've got to get some of those meds. But once you start to rebalance, you begin the rebalancing process right away. Focus on the lifestyle, get the lifestyle right. Because I do believe that it's just a matter of fine-tuning the lifestyle. And for most people, again, go back to chapter 42, the food, it's a massive change. It's not just fine-tuning. If it was just fine-tuning, that would be great. I know when I feel like I got to get off of balance, when I start to cheat a little on the lifestyle, the food, whatnot, I can feel it. I'm drifting off. I'm like, oh, this isn't right. Well, then I fine-tune it. The average person is not in that position. They need almost like a retreat or an intervention. That's better. And remember, I'm a lifestyle nutritionist. Please contact me. Forever Young Nutrition Coaching. Look on our nonprofit site, aPlantBasedDiet.org. My contact info is on there. That's what I'm here for. I'm here. I'm your coach. I'm more than a coach. I'm a lifestyle nutritionist. Okay, I talk about all the food and the purposeful exercise and everything else. Now let's get into the real key factors here for mental illness, since that's what this chapter is about. The two biggest things that you need to be concerned about if you feel that your mental balance is not correct. Two things: gut health has to be focused on intensely, and daily vigorous aerobic exercise. Those two things, because the gut health is going to make sure that the brain gut connection is working correctly. And of course, most of that is not eating foods that lack fiber, avoiding eating those foods that lack fiber. You want to focus on food that's grown. All types of variety of food is grown, but watch out for some of the nuts too. Nut seeds and avocados, unless of course we're talking about flax seeds and chia seeds. But the other things you have to be very, very moderate on, just a little bit, just a little bit. I know they have fiber, but there's other issues with those, as we talked about in chapter 42. Just go watch chapter 42. So if you're going to get your gut health in line, which means you're going to eat enough fiber, you're not going to eat things that destroy the gut, processed sugar, alcohol, oil, anything that contains oil, anything that doesn't have any fiber in it. All these things are going to destroy the gut. There's other things too, but those are the main ones that most people do. So don't destroy the gut bacteria. Feed the gut bacteria with fiber. That is key. I guarantee you, almost anyone with mental illness, unless they're one of the outliers I've talked about, is not doing this. And most people are so woefully inadequate on the fiber. It's unbelievable. I cannot believe people have gone as long as they have being fiber deficient like they are in their diets and have only the minor mental health issues that they have, truly, because it's that bad. And then the aerobic exercise. You need one of these monitors. This is a Fitbit. I've got another one too. Have 10 of them if you need to. Have somebody to hold you accountable and make sure you get your heart rate up into the active zone. Elevate that heart rate. Keep it up for 30 minutes a day. That doesn't mean a few barbell exercises. No. Vigorous aerobic exercise. I know you probably can't run if you're listening to this. There are a few that have mental issues that can run. No problem at all. That's great. You're in shape otherwise. But if you can't, just walk. It's fine. You don't hurt yourself. We don't want you to hurt yourself by trying to run, do something you don't need to do, but elevate that every single day. Purposeful exercise is the best way to do it. I have a chapter on that. But just going to the gym and getting on the treadmill or dead mill, whatever you want to call it, is also going to work. Peloton, I don't know, whatever. Peloton bikes. Yeah, that's what I started. I was talking to my wife Denise yesterday about this. My son Thomas and I started out when I was as an adult. I was getting into it because actually in my previous marriage, my previous wife did not support exercise at all. But I wanted to do it. I wanted to make sure that I was getting my aerobic exercise in. So I got on that bike for 30 minutes, get the heart rate up. So it's tough. And then do your strength training exercises. You still need that. I'm gonna have a chapter on that too. So those are the two key parts. You got to optimize that gut health, bring that gut health back into the health state. Because almost always, if you haven't been focusing on gut health, guaranteed your gut is a freaking mess. There's no way you're going to be okay mentally. And if you are and your gut's a freaking mess, you've got to be one of the most hardy individuals I've ever met. Okay. I think, like I said, I've mentioned this before. I'm like one of the most hypersensitive people in the world. I'm like a canary in the coal mine person for this entire concept of this entire book and lifestyle, etc. So get that gut health in check. Get that daily aerobic exercise. No matter, I don't even care if you can't move. Get on a rowing machine. Get on, like I say, bike at the gym, treadmill, something. Better yet, live somewhere where you can walk to the grocery store. That's what I do. And I carry the bags back and I build up the biceps. Do that, okay? But also get the aerobic exercise going. And you've got to do it. I can't underestimate. If you want to live a life of balance, you've got to convince yourself that you need these things all the time. Why do you think you have legs? Why do you think you have arms? Why do you think everyone knows that fruits and veggies are good for you? Because everyone knows instinctively, since they need colored vision to see the ripe fruits and vegetables, and that's what we have, that the human body is designed to seek those things out. That is health. The further you move away from food as grown fruits and vegetables, AKA fiber, the more your health suffers and your body just cries out. Your body's going to keep crying out until it gets your attention and you do something. Does this resonate with you? So if it does, please let me know. I know this is a difficult chapter. It's one I've been putting off because it's difficult, along with a couple other ones coming up here. They're not that fun, but we want life to be fun, and life can't be fun if you, I suppose if you have a mental illness, some days are fun, but not most days. Not the negative aspects of the pharmaceuticals you got to take, all the side effects and everything else. We don't want that for you, and you need to be okay. Like I said earlier in the book, you need to be willing to give up what's making you sick. So in this case of mental health, the only thing that's making you sick is your resistance to consuming the foods that you know your body wants you to consume. Like I said, we all know that Fruits and vegetables is kind of, that's the direction of health. Why? Because of the color, because we can see in color, because their food has grown, because they contain lots of fiber and water. Fiber, all that fiber is gonna heal your gut. It doesn't take that long at all. You just gotta give up the anti-health foods. Don't eat them. And do you think pharmaceuticals are health food too? Don't eat, you don't want to eat those either, but don't stop your meds. Like we have in the disclaimer below, you got to get the care of a physician. I'm not a physician, but I will tell you what to eat. Keep on your meds and do what your doctor says. And your doctor will be asking you, why do you feel so much better? You're coming in here smiling all the time now. What's wrong? What's going on? Are you going completely mad? No. Life should be fun. Life should be enjoyable. And it's not that difficult. This is not, hopefully you see that even though I'm kind of long-winded in this chapter, the concepts aren't that difficult. The concepts are straightforward and you kind of know them in your gut. Go with your gut. You got to heal your gut. And like I said, let me also mention the main benefit, number one benefit of daily vigorous aerobic exercise, 30 minutes plus, is the mental. But that's why you have arms and legs and everything moves, because you can move. You can start to work up, get the heart rate up. Otherwise you wouldn't have those things. Otherwise you'd be like a little computer or camera that I'm talking into here now that can't do anything. It just accepts the input. It actually doesn't complain or get depressed, I don't think. but you're a human. You have so much more potential. You can truly do whatever you want, but you can't do whatever you want if you are going to become and remain a victim of someone's diagnosis of a DSM manual that has zero firsthand information of how you are living your life outside of their medical office. And if you're watching this and you have a medical condition like this, you need to own what I just said. You need to recognize that you can do something, and you need to recognize that if you are deficient in these areas of fiber and eating the right plants, food is grown, and daily vigorous aerobic exercise, that you got leaps and bounds of improvement that you can make on your own that have nothing to do with some professional who was licensed in the medical field that has zero knowledge probably of nutrition, because that wasn't included in their credentials, and it was very, very limited. Okay, because again, managing symptoms, folks make a lot of money off of illnesses, if you think about it, that they will convey to you are not changeable. They remove responsibility from you. Actually, they remove responsibility from them, because you'll never improve. And that's ridiculous. If someone claims to be, I guess, do no harm, right? You hear that. Well, do no harm. What does that mean? Don't make it worse. Don't let it get any worse. Or don't convince a patient that they will never improve, or that there's nothing they can do. That's in a way very harmful, if you ask me. So I know it's a gray area, and I want you to think about that. Because if you hadn't thought before this chapter that you can do something, hopefully I've planted the seed in your brain. And I know it may be a lot of work. Like I said, that's why I'm a lifestyle nutritionist. I do nutrition coaching for people. That is very hard. Go back and read all the chapters on the culture of death that we live in, and setting goals, standard American diet. I know it's bad. That's why I'm putting this out here. This is my project. And I hope that it helps as many people as possible. And if you got any value out of this chapter, please hit the like button. Of course, give me all your comments below. I want to hear all kinds of things. Share this on your own social media. Share it privately with people. Just send it, copy the link, send it as a text to somebody, say, hey, watch this. Had you ever considered this before? Because this one chapter is in isolation, just about mental illness. But maybe someone will be interested. It'll spark some interest. They can read the rest of the book, because it all ties together. It's all connected. All the stuff is connected. And I feel sad for society that nobody's really made this a requirement to teach people up to this point, but maybe it will be going forward. Maybe it'll be common knowledge, and that'll be great. So be sure to subscribe to the channel too, and hit that bell for notifications, and we'll see you in the next chapter. Bye-bye.